What's up, everybody, and welcome to JFK Book Reviews. I am Rob Clark, and along with me is Joe Borelli, as always. And today we will be reviewing the book General Walker and the Murder of President Kennedy: The Extensive New Evidence of a Radical Right-Wing Conspiracy by Jeffrey Caufield, MD. That means he's a doctor. And this is a thick boy, Joe.
Another one.
Yeah, like I could do curls with this bitch and like get buff. But we'll save that for another night. If you would, just tell us about the book, Joe.
Sure. Well, it was released in 2015 by Moreland Press. And the meat and potatoes of the book is about 790 pages. There's a document section, which is about 10 pages. And the endnote section is 140 pages, which is very thorough, extensive, and an index page as well. So you can get this book on Amazon hardcover for $19.95, and surprisingly, the used versions are only $29 on Amazon, but I saw on some other used book sites up to $450. I guess that's the first edition, maybe signed. But Kindle for only $9.99, $10. So Jeffrey Caulfield is a doctor, a medical doctor. He's an author and researcher, best known for this book. I think this is his only book, actually, Rob. Um, and he applied academic research methods to his work, utilizing public records, private correspondence, and declassified documents from the Freedom of Information Act. And uh, he argues that the radical right conspiracy driven by opposition to Kennedy's policies, particularly his Civil Rights Act, culminated in the assassination. And with that being said, it definitely has a conspiracy lean to it. And I'll hand it off to you, sir.
Yeah, you got that right. He also relied heavily on document collections that had been donated from a lot of these extreme right wingers to various universities or colleges throughout the country. And along the way, he found a lot of interesting stuff. Now, when you think about a conspiracy involving the extreme right wing, we're not talking about just some gun nuts who belong to the John Birch Society. Okay, we're talking about Nazis. We're talking about segregationists, uh, states' rights party activists. Uh, you know, just not good people in their forward thinking of how or the direction that the country should be going. They were probably born in the wrong century, if you ask me, probably, Joe. But this book itself does a great job of extensively examining all of the various players, all of the various organizations, because this kind of stuff, Joe, was strung out all through the South, from Georgia to Florida to Alabama to Mississippi, Missouri, Louisiana, Texas, and even out to California. And there was a lot of high-ranking folks like General Walker, like General Willoughby, like General Duvalier, and a lot of big money players like H.L. Hunt, Nelson Bunker Hunt, uh, Leander Perez in New Orleans, Kent Courtney. And when you look at a lot of this stuff and how they interconnected with each other, and even over to Joseph Miltier in Georgia, you know, he knew some things that he shouldn't really know. And the fact that he possibly could have been caught in a picture in Dealey Plaza in Dallas on November 22nd is interesting, uh, considering that he might have known ahead of time what was going to be going on. But, Joe, let me read you an example real quick, short one,
Sure.
of what's in this book. And it says Walker traveled to New Orleans and met with Kent Courtney, Leander Perez, and two employees of Guy Bannister and Associates office just days before the assassination. And that is a true statement. General Walker was in New Orleans in the days before the assassination up until the morning of the assassination, meeting with big money players like Kent Courtney, Leander Perez, and two guys who were very close associates of Guy Bannister. What were they meeting about? Why was Walker in New Orleans? This gives us a whole new perspective on how things could have shaken out in the summer of 63 into the fall of 63, a possible link between New Orleans and Dallas, one of which the only one we've had, tangible up to now is Lee Harvey Oswald was in both places. But when you start to look at the players and their associations and who was around Lee Harvey Oswald at these different times, and the fact that Oswald was blamed for shooting at Walker, it just gets crazy. It gets crazy, and this book doesn't have very many pictures in it, Joe. Very little, very few, no full page ones. So when we're talking, almost 800 pages to the meat of this book, it is literally the meat of the book. But it is broken up very well into many, 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 many chapters, some of which are just a page or two long, or sub chapters inside of chapters. And it's written very well, very easy to understand because it's a very complicated subject. And it also is chock full of information that we've never heard before. Like this. This is a letter to Billy James Hargis in 1966 on December 28th. Dear Billy, blah, blah, blah. Just some pleasantries. It says another peculiarity with De Mohrenschildt returning to Dallas from Haiti as Rubenstein is allegedly dying with cancer, in parentheses, and might talk. De Mohrenschildt made a front page spread, and our informant produced his address and whom he is staying with. Not good. A warning. When Rubenstein leaves the hospital in a box, in parentheses, the only way he will come out, there is no further block to returning the blame to the right wing. The books and press will gradually pick it up again. RFK must have it. It must be done as insurance and assurance, and RFK political necessity, seemingly foreshadowing what was going to happen to JFK's brother RFK in the coming years. And also, we have another letter to Tom. I don't know who Tom is, but they speak of Marguerite Oswald being surveilled during the Clay Shaw trial. It says Mrs. M. Oswald should never be underestimated. We watch her moves closely. I think the Onassis marriage proved one thing. She is a red. With the accusation of extremist on us, the free press outdoes us. So it's full of very interesting eyebrow raising things that you must account for and must make sense of in the context of the entire book. So with that being said, Joe, give us your feelings on it, bud.
Sure. So, when when I think about a rating for a book, I think about what value add what value has it added, and this book adds a lot of value. I'd say it's probably one of the best, if not the best, books on the far right, and it provides a detailed examination of the radical right subculture in the United States, particularly in Dallas, a hotbed of anti-Kennedy segment, and like you mentioned, the correspondence, the interviews, 140 pages of sourcing. It's really well done. And even if you don't think the extreme right had a part of it, to rule them out, I think you need to read this book to fully comprehend their thoughts on President Kennedy. So, in short, I am going to give this a very solid 3.5 guns up. How about you,
Thank you,
sir?
Joe. Well, this book is the first of its kind to implicate specifically General Walker in the murder of President Kennedy. It's not the first book to, however, implicate the extreme right wing in the murder of President Kennedy. It is one of a very few to do that, though, and it is the only one to have researched as extensively as I think humanly possible to ever do so. And there's very little room for speculation left in this book when you are faced with the facts of the evidence that Jeffrey Caufield brings forth in this book. A lot of it is
Right,
undeniable,
right,
and that is hard to find in a Kennedy assassination book. Not only that is its unique subject matter. This is not your run of the mill Kennedy assassination book. You know,
right.
he does address the events in Dealey Plaza briefly in this book, but again, the main focus of this book is not Oswald per se. It is not what's going on in the school book depository. It's not who pulled the trigger. It's who could have possibly orchestrated this thing and pulled it off and why. And I think this book does an excellent job of answering those questions. So, with that being said, Joe, I'm going to give this book my first ever 10 out of 10. Bang, 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 bang. Guns up, baby.
Wow.
Because I love this book. From the minute I picked it up 10 years ago, I could not put it down, and I still use it as a resource to this very day when I need some go to information about some of these extreme right wingers, some of this New Orleans stuff. And it does a very excellent job of laying everything out in a very easy to understand way because it's a very complicated subject. So, yeah, 10 out of
Nice.
10, baby.
First 10. Love it.
So, with that being said, folks, if you like what you heard here, make sure to check us out on our show. We do live here on YouTube every Friday night at 7 p.m. and every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. for our channel members. We have a blast. You will learn something, and we'll see you there. Until next time, for Joe Borelli, I'm Rob Clark, and we are out.
Thank you, everyone.